Welcome to today's broadcast. We are Dream State Radio, DWLL 199.7. Today's broadcast is sponsored by Dreamwell Theatre, a theater of exploration.
There's a state of mind we all must visit, a state where everything is possible and anything can happen. Our darkest desires and secret thoughts merge to form a new reality. You are in the dream state.
I'm standing on the sidewalk of the street my old family house was on. It's been years since I've walked this street, but this is where I currently live. I've aged the decade and a half it's been since we lived here, but I live here now. I've lived here during the time I didn't live here. I am both aware of my true self and the self I have no choice to be given the context. We all play a different part than our true selves given the context. There is no need to be rude after all. I'm not ready to be a father. I want to be a father. I've wanted to be a father possibly longer than I knew I could one day be a father. She stands across the room. She is awful. We broke up after years of fighting. She stands across the room as my wife. A partner for life. I hate her, but I act friendly. There is no reason to be rude. The room is an apartment. It is made up of remnants of so many of my homes over the years. Each piece familiar, yet taken as a whole, it is a location truly new to me. Despite that, I know this is where I live. In this apartment, which is somehow also the house I grew up in. I don't remember traveling off the street into this familiar but new living room. I ended up here in much the same way I ended up married to my horrible ex. One moment, I was in a world whose sequence of time seemed to sometimes bend but never break. Then, effortlessly, I was standing on the sidewalk of the street of my old home. And with the same breadth of time and space, I am here, married to my horrible ex.
I'm so happy the two of you will finally get to meet.
She says this from the couch, looking over at me sweetly. There is no cruelty, no anger in the way she speaks. It is a loving, joyous tone I remember from the best of our time together. The moments I now spend as much effort as I can afford trying to forget. After trauma, it is not the bad times we try to forget, it's the good times. It is every moment that brought you to that trauma in the first place. The painful moments, the bad stuff, that you relish, that you carry with you. Those moments are the ones that make the hurt make sense. The good times, though, the love, the kindness, those are the moments that make you question your sanity. It is easier to cycle the trauma again and again to remind yourself of why you can never go back than it is to expose yourself to that agony again. So as she sits there and talks so sweetly to me and looks into my eyes with all the care one could ever glean from such a glance, something in me tells me to lean into the anger and hurt I know exists. I know I should connect to it, and if I had been in that world with time that merely bent but never broke, I know that I would have. Because with an unbroken sequence of events, there comes consequence. Cause and effect matters when the two are bound, but here they are not. Each action I take carries no weight into the next moment, and each new place I find myself in had no bearing on the last. Here I am merely tossed around by fate. So here I bear no responsibility, not even for myself. So I look back at her and I say, I'm so happy to meet him too. I choose to be loving in return. The context demanded it, and there is no reason to be rude.
Okay, meet?
I don't hear an actual name, more the impression of one imprinted on my consciousness. It was an unconventional way to communicate, but it got the point across, so I figured there was no need to question it.
He's 5, and he's my son.
5? How could I forget she got pregnant at the end of college? As I have that thought, the memories are generated almost as quickly. It was a whole thing, but it was during a rough patch in our relationship, so I'd steered pretty clear of the situation. I had always wanted to be a father. I daydream about being told that I am a father under the most inconvenient of circumstances, so I could valiantly pledge my unwavering love and support. I could prove that I was every bit the strong, responsible man my father raised me to be. So now was my chance. I turned my head to face the boy with the utmost intent to love. It didn't matter what my senses took in about the boy. He was my wife's son. So it didn't matter if he wasn't my blood. It didn't matter if his biological father was in the picture or not. It didn't even matter if he would ever think of me as his father. He was my wife's son, so I was going to be a father. When my eyes met his, though, I could see the resemblance. The man that she had been with when she existed in the between moments of being with me was not standing in front of me, but he was all that I could see. The features of this boy's face scanned through my brain like a QR code, and all that registered was this man I met but never knew. The boogeyman that haunted my thoughts with nothing more than the lingering threat he'd pursue his own self-interests. His image grew and disfigured in my mind until it absorbed and crumbled the world out beneath me as panic consumed my being.
Up next, Bard Out of Our Minds. This week, we're looking forward to hearing from one of our favorite local bards and minstrels, Joe Mosina. Joe's a born performer. You may have seen him at poetry slams, open mic nights, or karaoke around town. And of course, he's been gracing the local community theater stages since he was a wee lad. We are so happy to have him back with us at Dreamwell. Hit it, Joe.
Mistress mine, where are you roaming? Stay and hear your true love's coming, that can sing both high and low. Trip no further, pretty sweeting, journey's end and lovers meeting. Every wise man's son doth know. What is love? 'Tis not hereafter. Present mirth hath present laughter. What's to come is still unsure. In delay there lies no plenty. So come kiss me sweet and 20. Youth's stuff will not endure.
now it's time for another installment of As the World Burns. Will Grandma be able to make sense of video chat? Will Granddaughter be able to make sense of Grandma? Will any of us be able to make sense of anything anytime soon? Let's listen.
Hi, Great Grandma. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, Daisha. It's so good to see you, sweetheart. That's, an interesting new haircut you got there.
Do you like it?
It's so short.
Yeah, I tried to cut it myself since the salon is closed, and that didn't work out so well. So I thought, why not go super short and add some color?
That's definitely some color. Reminds me of Dennis Rodman.
Who?
Oh, well, never mind. It's lovely, dear. And it's lovely to see you. You said you wanted to interview me?
Yeah, one of our assignments for English is to interview a grandparent about their reactions and thoughts about the coronavirus pandemic. My first question is, what were your thoughts when this whole thing started?
Well, early on, the biggest news around here was not being able to find any toilet paper anywhere. Now, when I was a girl, we still had an outhouse out on the farm, and we used old newspaper and magazine pages. You know, it's a shame there aren't more printed papers these days. They'd come in handy, although half the crap these politicians say isn't worth wiping my ass with.
Grandma, I don't think I can say that.
Oh? Too political for school?
No, Grandma, I don't think I can say ass in a school paper.
Oh, well, you can change it to booty or say dunk-a-dunk or whatever you kids say these days.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. How has your life changed due to the pandemic?
Well, I suppose life has changed for a lot of people. But as an old lady who doesn't get out much, my life hasn't changed all that much. I get more calls from worried family members. Oh, Grandma, we're so worried about you. Take care of yourself now. Oh, we love you so much. I don't hear from them for months. And now they're all concerned about my well-being. Apparently being closer to death makes one more interesting. Anyways, I suppose the worst part of it all is that I haven't been able to see Ernie in almost 2 months.
Who's Ernie?
Oh, didn't I tell you? Ernie's my new boy toy. Only the assisted living facility he lives in won't let anyone in right now.
I didn't realize you were dating anyone, Grandma. I'm sorry you haven't been able to see him.
Oh, thank you, dear. What about you? Is there a special boy or girl in your life?
Well, there's this boy, Brad.
Oh, tell me all about him.
Well, he asked me to the spring dance, which of course got canceled.
And I suppose now you can't see him.
Well, don't tell my mom, but sometimes we meet over at the park. I know we shouldn't, but it's so hard to be apart when we just started dating.
Ah, young love. I remember this boy I dated in high school. My parents didn't like him. I'd have to pretend I was on the phone with one of my girlfriends and that we were going out dancing. And sometimes Tom and I would go out dancing. But more often than not, we'd head out in his car and do a little boogie-woogie of our own. Boy, he sure knew how to work a stick shift, if you know what I mean.
Grandma, are you sure you're supposed to be telling me this stuff?
Oh, sorry, dear. I get a little carried away when I think about my younger days. I suppose we should stick to the questions so you can get your assignment done.
Okay, last question. What do you hope people learn as a result of the pandemic?
Well, I'd say 3 things. First, I hope people remember what they've learned about how to be flexible and adapt. Second, don't take your loved ones for granted. And third, make the most of life, even during a pandemic. And Daisha, keep finding ways to see that boyfriend of yours.
Thanks, Grandma. I hope you and Ernie get to see each other soon.
Me too. You don't boogie-woogie as much at my age, but it's still nice to have a man around for a little fun.
Get your open mic on the open air. Dream State Radio is looking for performers for a new segment called Music and Musings. We're looking for local writers, poets, musicians, and spoken word artists. Please send in your ideas to Elizabeth at dreamwell.com. That's Elizabeth with an S, like soap. Wash your hands. Thanks for joining us. We here at Dream State Radio would like to say we appreciate all our listeners and our community. Stay safe out there.
And remember, the dream state is here for you.